Right, man. Just talked to Javier and we did a little Spanish speaking there. That was awesome.
I really love this new bit that we do. What did you think of the podcast?
Dude, I thought it was awesome. I was very impressed by the type of insights that he had. Especially, he gave us like a bonus round at the end there with the Auto ML piece and how he views Auto ML, what they're doing at Mercado Libre with Auto ML, and why he still feels like, I think this was like huge, he still feels like it is hard to beat domain knowledge, no matter how much Auto ML you throw at it. So, what about you? What kind of takeaways did you have?
I thought that he had a lot of interesting descriptions about what it's like about for an ML platform to grow to meet the needs of a growing business.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Mercado Libre is a very hot company. It's growing very fast all across Central and South America. And I think he offered some real nuggets about how teams like that, platform teams, need to be product minded in order to stay relevant for the company
Yeah.
as it grows.
It's true. It's a huge team. And also, what he was mentioning with like, yeah, he needs to talk to, he has the engineering side of things, he has the data science side of things. He's trying to get people in the company to learn what kind of effect they can have if they use machine learning. So I think that
Yep.
whole piece around like how they go out and they educate the company to use machine learning, that was awesome too. So they can get that competitive advantage. This is a company that is doing some really sophisticated stuff and they have a ton of use cases and a huge amount of scale. So I appreciate that. Senor Javier, it's good to have you on here, man.
Thank you.
I
Thank
had
you.
such a good time interviewing Lead Talks. I think it's like almost 2 years ago now. We talked about the Fury data platform that you all are having at Mercado Libre. It was incredible. I mean, I loved talking to him. I love the energy that you guys bring to this space. And I love the fact that you all have been doing this for a while. Like, this is not something that you're just dibble dabbling in a few machine learning models. This is like serious business. So I think that we should jump into a little refresher as to what Mercado Libre is and what kind of use cases you all are supporting, because I know it's just like a huge amount.
Okay, let's do it. First disclaimer, Litox is the real rockstar, so I'll try to do my best, but he's the man. So let's give a quick intro of what is Mercado Libre, because it's a huge player in Latin America, but it's a real unknown company outside of Latin America. So I was just checking with some folks at the company today. We are Mercado Libre, which means free market. It's the e-commerce company in all the countries in Latin America, from Mexico to Argentina and Chile. And if you are not very familiar with geography, that's entire America, except US and Canada. Brazil, Colombia, Chile, Uruguay, Paraguay, Peru, every country in Latin America uses Mercado Libre as the daily basis e-commerce platform where you buy and sell stuff. Next to that, we have been building the fintech solution, which is a wallet and an entire banking system, which is called Mercado Pago, which means market payment. It's a game of words with Mercado Libre. So we are the big player, the main player on those two fields. And together with that, we have our own logistic network. So every package, we have, I don't know, about 100 million users on Latin America. We are selling a huge amount of stuff every day. I don't know, here I have some numbers. I don't know, last year we have 30 buys per second, something like that. And we are shipping all that stuff in our own logistic network. We have a credit solution, advertising. It's a real ecosystem. So that is Mercado Libre. And I and my team, we have fun a lot because we work in the technology team. It's a tech team which provides services for all these other business units. So each business unit is kind of an internal company, and we are providing services for them. And that's why it makes sense to build stuff that is useful for every piece, every team on the company.
All right, so I want to talk a little bit, just to interrupt you real fast. Sorry.
Yeah.
I really want to dive into something that has come up since I chatted with Lee Talks. And first, I will mention that for everybody that is only listening, Javier is being the quintessential Argentino right now, and he is drinking his yerba mate.
Yeah.
I love it, dude. So good.
It's our coffee. My coffee version is mate.
Wait,
Mate.
yerba mate. Oh, okay, cool. I've never had it before.
It's a kind of a tea, but it's drink in a very special way with a straw, and it's a very cultural thing in Argentina, Uruguay, and Brazil.
It's a ritual.
Nice.
It is a ritual. And
that's it. Yeah.
So anyway, getting back on track, there is something really interesting that you all you decided to do, and that is centralize your machine learning platform. And I want to talk about how, I see you wanted to say something right there. So tell me about that idea. Am I wrong when I say that you centralized it? Do you have still decentralization happening? What does it look like?
Okay, it's a good question, and I have a T-shirt which can help with the concept. We as a company, I don't know if you can see this, guys, but we have a motto which is building the foundations very big, so every team does not need to reinvent the wheel. So in this graphic, which is you invest on very huge horizontal stuff, so every team in the business can base on that, and it doesn't have to build the entire thing. So we are a company that has more than 20 years. It's not that much if you compare it with some banking companies, but it's a while for a company in the internet systems. And we have had a lot of troubles in the past. I don't know, teams going out of the company, technology deprecated, vendor lock-in, all that kind of stuff that it's mentioned on every book, but we experienced that. So it's not that we are centralizing the machine learning. My team in particular is building the foundations, so you don't have to do that. Because it's very fun, it's very natural to just try a concept and deploy it, but how's that going? Who is going to monitor that? Who is going to redeploy that, to monitor the data is safe? All that kind of stuff, it's not thought at the first, but in the second month or in the second year, it's something that someone needs to take care of. So instead of centralizing, we try to provide those blocks. And I wouldn't say that there is a lot of things to be done still. We are building this for 4 years, I think. There are a lot of things that teams are building because we are not fast enough. For instance, we have a very huge investment on marketing or advertising that they're pushing our limits. They're needing stuff that we are not ready to provide as a service for the entire company. So we work together with those teams. They build the first version of some concepts that we later try to expand for the rest of the company. How we decide to do that? The thing is that the company decided to do this not only for machine learning, but for the entire technology building. So the decision was made before. It was not made just for machine learning, but every web development, every API, every database is made on this same schema. The reason is what I was just mentioning. We had a lot of scars of bad stories where an entire unit of the company went away and someone had to take care of that, and it was made on a strange language and with strange stuff. So we are on the phase of trying to normalize things. During these last 4 years, I am not very clear, but I think that we multiplied by 4 the size of the team.
Oh,
So
wow. Yeah.
that's my story in the company. The company has more than 20 years, but when I entered, it was about 1,500 employers of IT. Okay, yeah, it's more than that. It's like 6 times. We are right now 10,000 or more.
Wow.
So this kind of decisions, although for the developer that wants to try out the new cool thing that it's out there and it's not provided by our platform, although that is something that we have to deal every day, we are letting teams that in less than a month are deploying things to production without taking care of everything that we are taking care for them. So I mean that for this size of companies, it makes a lot of sense. But before working on Mercado Libre, I was working on a startup. I think that at the end we were about 60, 70 people, and it wouldn't make sense to build a platform for a company of that size. Mm-hmm. So it's a thing of trade-offs and momentum of each company.
I want to get in. Yeah,
I want to get into
that real fast.
I have right now a team that it's about that size working on this platform, right? It's about 40 to 50 people building this piece of the platform. So, and I have another team of 15 people working on the A/B testing framework. So it makes sense when you have thousands of people working on the IT. I don't know if in smaller scales it makes sense. And there is an extra thing that why are we building it and not just using what is out there? That's a fair question. Maybe I am stealing your lines, Demetrius.
No, go into it, man.
Okay.
Yeah. I got different questions, but tell us this one.
Okay. This one is, I don't feel that we are going to the moon. I don't feel that we are the first one on the planet doing this kind of things. But I do think that every time I try to understand what platforms are offering, they are not enough. They are not thinking about thousands of teams and governance and subsections, and the effort on customizing that is not trivial. Another big decision that Mercado Libre has is to be multi-cloud. We are not based on a single cloud provider. So why is that? Because it's what allows us to be independent of commercial issues or electricity issues, which happens in a single location or in a single company. So we have several providers of cloud infrastructure, and our machine learning platform is built on top of another platform that is given an abstraction of what cloud service is behind scenes. So that's why a lot of our services try to abstract the commercial service that we are working with. There are a few exceptions. Right now we are starting to use BigQuery, and that's not abstracted, that is exposed directly. But if you want to train, you want to deploy, we are not just using a solution, a canned solution from a given provider. We have our own, and if we want to use the canned solution from, I don't know, AWS, our teams, they don't interact directly with the SageMaker, for instance. They interact with Fury data apps, and it's our coding which takes care of talking with the external service and configuring stuff. Mm-hmm. That lets us to switch. If there is an issue with this provider, we can switch in less than an hour every server, every model served, and move it to another provider, and without needing to touch any line of code of our applications. We have right now, I don't know, I was checking, more than, I don't have the details, but more than 500 models deployed. It's talking about numbers, I don't know, maybe they are just simple models doing tiny stuff, but there are several hundreds, so it's not trivial to go and take and touch every one of them.
Yeah.
So this kind of solutions helps us to provide this kind of resilience for incidents.
Well, so there is something funny that I will remind people of. You didn't see the Lee talk, which was way back in the day. It was one of the first ones that we ever had. He mentioned how, yeah, with the Fury data app, you can write in any language as long as it's Python, and you can make sure to interact with it. That was one of, I didn't realize how much of a diehard fan Lee Talks was for Python, but that was great. The one thing that I want to get into right now is this idea of what you said, how it makes sense that you are currently building a platform because you have the manpower, you have the resources, you have everything you need, and you have the scale. When did you hit that scale? When did you know that it was time to become your own thing as opposed to what you were doing before where everything was decentralized?
Okay, I can tell you my part of the story. My part of the story is that I was working in a startup that was acquired by Mercado Libre. Mercado Libre was a company with thousands of employees working on IT, which didn't have any machine learning besides some small teams working very hard on some very important problems. For instance, fraud prevention. They were working with machine learning for a long time. So in this case, my history here was that we have a very big IT team which were very unaware of the power of machine learning. So we had the scale, we were more than 1,000 people working on the same thing, and we had the horizon we had the information that we were going to keep growing. So our challenge was, how can we make it to scale? How can we transform or boost teams that know how to build microsystems? How can we help those teams to build machine learning applications? Because we weren't hiring thousands of data scientists or machine learning engineers on the first day. We were trying to shift our culture from non-machine learning, where machine learning wasn't decentralized, it was work in some silos and just that. So our challenge was, how can we shift that way of working to another way of working where every team can do it. That was in 2018. Machine learning was everywhere. It wasn't in I don't know, 2010, which were the time where our startup started. So it was pretty obvious that we were leaving money behind the table or up to the table. We were not taking advantage of this technique for several places of our business. We as a company had several external providers building solutions with machine learning. Every one of them giving us their own decisions. Some of them were locking us with some providers. Some of them were just giving us an endpoint for making calls. Some of them were just giving us a pickle file and just that. So we were using machine learning. We were aware that we needed to use it a lot more. And we were seeing a landscape where it wasn't easy at all to actually decentralize the building solutions, because I don't think that we centralize how solutions are built. We try to do the boring stuff, so teams doesn't need to do that. Having said that, there are still teams in our company that aren't using our platform. Sometimes because what they need, it doesn't fit in our platform. Sometimes because I think that's the main reason. There is another reason, which is they had a previous investment and it's very expensive to move those investments from off platform to in platform. But in general, it is not something that we enforce in terms of we don't have the power to obligate anyone. We do have the power to make it appealing. It's something. It is what we try to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, that makes a lot of sense. And one of the questions I wanted to ask about that, as you mentioned, you can't force anybody, but you can entice someone, right? As you said. What business metrics are you trying to drive with your ML platform vision and team? What are the numbers that you track that mean success for you?
Okay. That is a good question. I think that given the history I was just, the story I was just putting in context, our main metrics was the number of, the percentage of people on regular IT teams that started to play with machine learning. That was, you would say, the market share of machine learning being used in our company. That was the main metrics for a couple of years. Right now, we are working on some other stuff. The thing it started to be rich enough to start thinking about some other things. We are right now trying to measure this same aspect in each different business unit. Why is that advertising is using a lot of machine learning, but it's not being used in the payment ecosystem or in the shipment ecosystem? And we try to, our focus is to try to scale up what machine learning can do on those places. In general terms, that are the kind of things that I'm worried about, which is not about the number of requests we are serving per second, but in terms of how useful is this solution in terms of providing value real fast for the business. That is what we are doing. We do try focus the number of the percentage of users that are in the platform versus out the platform, because that is duplication of efforts. That is some regulatory risks around that. We are investing a lot of efforts on PII, personal identifiable information, tracking and taking care of, which is something that is easier to do when you have a platform working on that, and it's not the same developer that is building the model, deploying it, monitoring it, and taking care of this kind of aspects. So it's very simple, Vishnu, the kind of metrics we are focusing on right now.
So going to those like first metrics, you got something else?
No, an extra thing is we have a trade-off where we are not trying to live on the edge, which is, should we focus on the beginners and lower the barrier, or shall we focus on make an enjoyable experience for the experts? Mm-hmm. The truth is that in our experience, we should be doing both. The way we try to do those two things in general is let the experts put their hands on the machine. So we try to build things that beginners can use, and we try to not put barriers for the experts. That's because in general, some platforms decide a lot of things that are very cool when it's your first month doing that, but they are a pain on the nose when you are an expert and you try to take a look what happened in this particular case. Oh no, I want to tweak this parameter. No, you can't. So I would say that during the last year we realized that we need to start paying more attention to experts asking for permission to touch things and decide use some of the building blocks we are building and some others not. They might customize some of the building blocks. So right now, 2 years ago, we have a very rigid system where we provide 2 entry points. One entry point for building data sets and one entry point for training models. Talking about lessons learned, everything that you decide that it's going to be enough for the Pareto law is not going to be enough. So when we decided this several years ago, it sounded like a good idea. You just need to build a data set and just use that for building a model. Reality is that data sets are built in very strange ways when you have hundreds of teams doing stuff. So right now, instead of having fixed places where teams can put their code, we instead provide checkpoints. So you just create and save artifacts. We help you to check the quality of those artifacts, and we help you providing infrastructure for building those artifacts. But in the past, we have a single artifact kind, which is data set and model, and that was that. Right now, you can build whatever you want. You can have pipelines doing all kind of stuff. You can build models for building data sets, for building another model, which is something pretty obvious. But when we decided the first version, it wasn't obvious that it wasn't rocket science to build models that were useful for the business and were that complex. So these are the kind of things that in the past were locked for experts, for users not doing the tutorial but trying to build a very complex solution. And are the things that we right now try to help lower the barrier for the beginners and help the experts do what they want to do without having to fight with us about some decisions.
Yeah, it feels like there's that happy medium between like the flexibility and the simplicity that you're going for, and how can you let the ones that are just starting out feel that, oh, okay, this is simple enough for me to sink my teeth into, but then you have those who have been using it for ages and they can say, yeah, I want to tweak these very, very fine-grained parameters. I have that flexibility and I have that ability to do it. So going back to what you said before, though, and I think this is something that comes up in the community quite a bit, around how do you educate people like that are in the IT department on what use cases or how you can use machine learning?
Okay.
Like, because I imagine that you were saying that one of your metrics was in the beginning, just how can we get people using machine learning? How can we get them onto the platform and realizing value with it? So what was that process like? What was that educational process, or just getting people onto the process or onto the platform?
Okay. We should invite another rockstar that is not me, which is a friend of mine called Rafael. I personally been involved in building the platform, and I was part of the cultural shift, but not the main singer of that. I can sing a couple of songs, but it's not my band. Um, we try to do a lot of things. Right now we are running boot camps, which is something very helpful for beginners, but thing is that the idea of investing on machine learning for, I don't know, detect if there is some, I don't know, we have some products which shouldn't be sold in our marketplace. I don't know, guns or medication. Who decides what is the solution for building that solution? It's not a beginner. It's not a software engineer. It's more the business and the product teams. So something that we did in the very beginning was to design and coordinate several, I would say, workshops for people working on the business. In those kind of workshops, we try to. It is a tricky thing because you want to help people realize the power of machine learning at the same time that you want to be careful of not generating fake expectations. Hey, there is GTP3 which will solve fraud forever. We don't need this team anymore, and etc. So in our track, we build this workshop where we make the team, the business. We in our company have a lot of people working on business, studying the market and deciding which is the next thing we shall be doing. So for each of those teams, for the logistic team, for the fashion team, for the payments team, for the e-wallet team, for each of them we try to run the workshop for just that, 10 people, not hundreds of people, showing them some common patterns. If you have a rule engine, it's probably that machine learning can help you. It's just that. If you have some tasks that are repeatable, it's possible that machine learning can help you. And we created a kind of rule of thumb with some example of typical problems where machine learning can fit. And it's a very fun story because after that, where people started to get excited, we gave those people a little exercise. We asked them to decide if this, I don't know, we have, I think everywhere, we have in some places, we have some sellers that try to sell fake things. So instead of a Nike cap, they sell another cap, which is very, very cheap. And it has a fake Nike logo and all that kind of stuff. So we prepare a small data set and ask those folks to decide, to tag, is this fake or not? So together with the excitement of all this kind of stuff can be solved by this magic, we help them to see that it's not that easy. We had, because in every one of these workshops, people get out knowing that there is a limit for everything. It is not that easy to decide if this item is fake or not. So it was very obvious on those workshops that there is the machine, it can just go sorry guys. The solution can reach a certain point and it cannot be perfect. So the business team start to realize that, yeah, it's just that, a probabilistic solution. It's not something that's going to be magic, true or false. This is just a story, but it's part of the things we did over the years. And another thing that we did, again, led by Rafael, my friend, it was we we built small teams like SWAT teams, which were traveling the organization saying, you know what, give me 3 months and I'll come back with a solution that it will prove you there is money on this. And if it is not, it's okay. We just lost 3 months with a couple of guys that are experts. Guys
love that
or
idea.
girls.
SWAT team.
Yeah, we call MVP teams. So those teams are focused on just doing a discovery and doing a very nasty thing that proves that there is money or not. And that helped a lot to break down silos and convince people. But I think that it was part of a same story. This was these MVP teams is the current investment. In the past, we were doing those workshops, and probably next year we are going to do something else. It's something that we year to year we see at which point we are and decide if it is needed to do something else or not. Right now, every team of the organization has an internal machine learning team, which is something that a couple of years ago it wasn't like that. So right now we have some different needs regarding how we can create some consensus about what needs to be done, because right now there are several teams in several places of the organization building stuff. So it depends on the moment of the organization.
Right. You know, one question that I have here, Javier, is, you know, you mentioned that your headcount for your ML platform team had really grown, and that, you know, the team is much bigger than the last time Demetrios talked to Litox. Can you talk a little bit about how that team is composed of, who those team members are, and how you also like find the right people to bring on? Because this is something that we talked about in a previous podcast with Shalon at Lemonade, but it's challenging sometimes to find the right people to work on ML platform with the right understanding of machine learning and software engineering. How do you approach that with your team?
Okay, a hard question, Vishnu. Okay, I will say that I have my biases on this. I think that the first 10 years of my career was building just applications, web applications, and the machine learning stuff, it's something that started to appear, and it started to be a tiny bit of my work, and year after year it started to be more and more. Some of the folks that work with me right now have been working with me for the last 10 or 15 years, and they have the same, more or less the same track record. And I will say that I am confident that good engineers teams is mandatory. For building a platform, I think that it's mandatory to have an engineering thinking on the team, deciding aspects regarding, I don't know, quality, reliability, repeatability, all that kind of stuff. I think that in general, folks working from the engineering side have that exercise really well done.
Yeah.
But on the other side, to be honest, I lead a team that is mostly built by engineers, but I work side to side with another team, which is the team that I was just mentioning, led by Rafael, where there is a lot of data scientists or engineers doing data science, and I would say that we define together what it's going to be needed. So in terms of hands building stuff, I am confident with engineers, but in terms of deciding what needs to be done, it needs a mixed set of people working on that. During the last years, we used that schema. Most of the folks that I hire, they don't have experience building machine learning solutions. They do have experience building Python solutions or web solutions, web applications, and just that. We just hired a senior manager from Colombia, which has tons of experience doing data science, but it was not the first person on the team. It's the person that I need to add right now to my team. But in general, it's engineering folks with eagerness to learn about machine learning, and the team, the entire team working towards product. I mean, we are a team building a platform, but we need to have a product mindset. We need to be aware of which the user are, what they need, why do they need that. And in my case, my users, it's not just the teams building machine learning solutions. A big stakeholder for me is the company itself, and I don't need to I need to listen to end users wanting this new feature, but I am also watching the trade-offs between this new feature, which is not very reliable, and how much it's going to add to the business, how much impact it's going to generate, versus, I don't know, keep working with what we are doing. I was checking this morning, before this podcast, less than the half of our machine learning models are built with deep learning, because most of the time it doesn't make sense. It is not cost effective. It is not, we have tons of data, but sometimes for this problem, you don't have tons of data, because you start to filter data, you have to starting to pay attention to small details, and you realize that you don't have thousands of entries, you just have a couple of them, and sometimes you need a real speed latency, real low latency. So I was talking about how we decide, how is our team built, and again, I would say it's mostly made by engineers, but taking care of what our stakeholders need. I don't know if I was that your question, Vishnu, or there's something else that?
No, I think it did. I think it really did.
Okay.
Demetrius, you had something to say?
So now, Javier, quiero hablar un poco en español, si no te importa. Vamos a acabar con esto, porque Vishnu tiene que practicar un poco y mi español está un poco oxidado, así que vamos a cambiar la mesa y nosotros en español contigo. Ahora, lo que has dicho de esto, yo quiero saber qué es, con quién hablas cada día, en tu día a día, con quién hablas, quién son los stakeholders más importantes. Has dicho que el negocio en sí es un gran stakeholder y luego tienes los data scientists, tienes los de ingenieros, pero en tu día a día, ¿quién son los stakeholders más grandes que tienes?
Los líderes de iniciativas grandes, prevención de fraude, advertising, marketing, recommendations, los heads de esos problemas. Los líderes de plataforma, la plataforma en Mercado Libre está compuesta por muchas partes. Hay el líder de plataforma de datos en general, líder de plataforma de desarrollo, de infraestructura en general, y también, claro, todo el conjunto de usuarios, ¿no? Seguridad informática, legales, compliance, es todo ese ecosistema costos y, bueno, es un ecosistema grande. Todos esos son mis stakeholders en general.
Y lo interesante es que tienes tanta
Y
diversidad
perdón,
entre los
Demetrios.
stakeholders. Sí, dime.
Sorry. Hay uno muy importante que no estoy mencionando, que es el entorno competitivo. Todos los equipos y compañías que están presentes en MLOps.community, ellos también son mis stakeholders, o son agentes a los cuales presto mucha atención para entender si me estoy quedando atrás o si debería usar cosas que no estoy usando.
Ay, qué interesante. Sí. Y con todo este conjunto de los que tienes ahí, como legal, los software engineers, los heads de todos estos sistemas, ¿cuánto hablas con cada uno y cómo puedes decir esto tiene más importancia que el otro o todo tiene la misma importancia? ¿Cómo decides?
No tengo una receta. It depends on the case. Como compañía tenemos, como compañía entera tenemos misiones anuales, objetivos anuales grandes o a veces más que anuales. Entonces eso ayuda mucho a acomodar humores, ¿no? Si este año el lugar donde queremos crecer es, voy a inventarte uno, Demetrios, pero si fuera venta de servicios, venta de servicios de agricultura, el líder de esas iniciativas seguramente va a ser una persona que voy a atender mucho más, voy a prestarle mucho más atención porque muchas de las inversiones de la compañía van a estar dirigidas ahí.
Claro.
But in general, I have. Can I switch back to English?
Yeah.
Because I feel that most of the people that's
Absolutely.
going to hear this is going to miss this. In general, I have weekly or bi-weekly meetings with heads of every part of the company. How do I decide? It's not a recipe. I just try to do my best. When it's not possible, we work together about what is the plan B. If I cannot make it this right now, when can we do it? Can you do it? And I go and I later take advantage of your investment. It's an art and it's my job, and I don't have it solved right now. But it's the hardest part of this kind of works. Earlier, I said that we try to delight the beginners and the experts, and it's awesome to say that. But actually, every day I fail both things, and I try to improve in both ends. So it's
And you don't have in what's it called? In Spanish, well, in English, there's the squeaky wheel gets the grease. In Spanish, I think it's like, a quien no llora, no mama. You know that saying? So
Yeah.
I imagine the people who are the loudest to you also get a little bit more attention. And that was kind of what I was thinking about. But anyway, man, this has been awesome. I'm glad we got to do a little bit of Spanglish, and thank you for coming on here and giving us an update on where you're at in Mercado Libre, how the Fury data apps are going. I love hearing about this. I love the metaphors you're using and just the way that you're bringing this mentality into what you're building and how to make it something that is, as you said, the most flexible as possible, yet still simple to use for those that are just coming on. You kind of you peeled back the curtains a little bit and you exposed what's going on at Mercado Libre. So thank you for that.
Ok, estoy muy contento de esta invitación a MLOps.community y contar la historia de Mercado Libre de ya más de 4 años construyendo plataforma de Machine Learning. Así que muchas gracias, Demetrios, Vishnu, and the entire team.
Yeah.
I have something else on my notebook that it wasn't
yeah, tell us.
mentioned.
This is a bonus.
Yeah, it's a bonus. It's about auto ML and that kind of trends. So it wasn't covered on the conversation, and I was just make a small note about that. Because talking about this hype about machine learning and hype about building things that build the models, it seems that our work is done and we have to start thinking about our next career. I receive, I wouldn't say a weekly email trying to selling me something about automatic machine learning, but yeah, it's more than one per month. And the thing is that we try to make they work, and it's very hard to actually beat domain knowledge. So what we are building during the last year in Mercado Libre, it's something that we call Auto MELI. MELI is the NASDAQ name of Mercado Libre, and Auto MELI is just a dad joke about that. Our automatic machine learning engine, it is actually a placeholder where teams can just do what they do with this kind of tools. They just send a data set and expect a model in return. But instead of just burning money with some of the tools out there, what we try to do first is just use our cookbooks. We know that for some kind of things in our data, it's very usual that this kind of model is going to find the gold. If you are out there trying out automatic machine learning and you have the scale, I will suggest you to try to find ways of having a knowledge sharing way, a knowledge sharing tool. Because what we are doing here, instead of doing automatic machine learning, is reusing the expertise of a girl that was, I don't know, a year studying this data set, and she was smart enough she was very smart to determine that this kind of model is going to give us a lot of profit. So every other team that's going to work with that data set, instead of having to remember that, it's a tool that remembers that. It's our tool, and if we want to burn money, we can send, our tool receives the data set and can send it back to whatever company is doing automatic machine learning. But in general, like I said at the beginning, it's very hard for us to see those automatic machine learnings beating the domain knowledge, the knowing your data and using it smart enough. That's my experience, and I'm happy to hear about people saying, you are wrong, Javi, you should be trying out this and that.
I love it, man. Well, let's wrap it there. Thank you so much.